All right. Good morning. It was morning here. It's going almost 9 o'clock, and I have to go and run out and look at someone's van today, and something's going on with the brake booster. But we'll see when we get out there. So what I want to talk about, right quick, is well, my videos are never right quick. Just something to think about. I know I was thinking about this today, well, last few days. I made a video on gear acquisition syndrome. And gear acquisition syndrome doesn't always necessarily mean that you're always buying gear. Gear acquisition syndrome means you can always keep constantly buying gear and selling gear and trading out gear. Because really, technically, overall, when you think about gear, whether you got one guitar or one keyboard, or you got 10 guitars or 10 keyboards, whatever, it's almost to the point where that one keyboard or that one guitar or that one drum set or that one snare drum or whatever, that one guitar amp or whatever, it's like it's never good enough to have that one. Or if you got one guitar, you trade it in for another guitar, it's kind of like you're constantly acquiring gear, whether you're keeping it or you're just trading it out, or you're constantly buying gear and selling it. It's all gear acquisition syndrome, because it's really what it boils down to just being happy. And a lot of times when you'll hear all the times where people say there is cure to gear acquisition syndrome, meaning learn to use the tools that you gotten before you keep constantly buying more gear, or like I said, you're buying gear, trading gear out, whatever the case. And that is a very, very hard thing to do. Because there's psychology. This is the reason why psychology, when it comes behind marketing, works so well. It's the reason why all retail stores, I don't care if it could be Walgreens, Walmart, an auto parts store, whatever. This is the reason why items are placed in a specific place to get you to buy items. It's psychology behind it. It's kind of like why they put candy and vending machines right next to the cashier. They strategically do that because they know that psychologically it will play on someone's mind to buy candy and the soda on their way out. It's the most effective thing. Most people won't even think about a soda machine or candy if it's in the back of the store. But if they have the channel, oh, that Snicker bars and that Mountain Dew looks pretty good, let me get that too. They know that's going to work. That's why they place it there. It's the same thing with. It's kind of like when there's always constantly coming out with new gear, a new clone, a new plug-in, and they're going to constantly do that because people are going to, and the way they market it is, either they're going to get people to market, or they're going to get YouTubers to, because YouTubers can make money sponsoring their gear. This is the reason why YouTubers always constantly talk about, and they do it in a slick way now. They kind of, it could be the review, my thoughts and reviews on the new Focal speakers or whatever, right? That's not by accident. And they might even tell you, Focal, Focal didn't, it's not sponsoring, they have no influence on this video. Yet, it's kind of like I heard this one video, and this one video was of I think it was a guy or a girl saying that this company just mailed her some speakers. I'm like, what company just randomly just mails somebody some speakers? They don't do that because they don't know who they are. No one's going to mail you stuff if they don't know who you are. Or even if they did know who you are, they're not going to mail you unless there's an incentive to mail you something like speakers or cables or whatever. There's some sort of sin like, okay, well, what matters to you if you talk about it, review it, or whatever. There's always, so it's a slick way they try to, do that. But anyhow, all this can contribute to a person if they watch these videos and say, those sound good. Or I like that person's review. I think I'm going to get it. And it's almost to the point where, did you even need it? Like me, I had to admit I had a real bad gear acquisition syndrome problem. And after I sit there and I'm like, you know what? I have everything I possibly need. Just about. The only thing I don't have is I still need some more cables because I found broken cables. I still need my racks for my gear there. I just need racks for it. So I'm concentrating on things that I need and not things that I want, because a lot of this can turn into you want, and before you know it, you got an excessive amount of stuff, and then you realize you've acquired more than you actually needed. I know that I have, and so brings me to my other thought about this, about the gear itself. I was sitting there watching a video on different studio monitors and things like that. There's all these different there's so many companies, and it makes me wonder, how come, let's say, for example, let's talk about the ATC 25s, right? My question is, the way these companies, I don't care if it's the NAMM show, the AES show, someone's reviewing these studio monitors. You got people that will have the ATC 25s as an example and say these are the best speakers they ever had in their life. I'm like, well, how come every studio don't have ATC 25s? Because you'll notice from studio to studio, some have Genelecs, some have PMC, some have Dyne Audio, some have Adams, and the list just goes on and on and on. Osbergers or whatever, they'll just, you'll go to another. I've seen other reviews where other people say, man, these Adam 7s are the best studio monitors I ever heard. And you'll see quite a few videos on that. Then, it's like, how come everyone doesn't have Adam 7s? Or you'll see Genelecs. How come everyone don't have Genelecs if they're the best speaker in the world, right? And it really, what it boils down to, and it don't have to be to talk about studio monitors. It could be microphones, recording consoles, DAWs. It's like one person say the best DAW is Logic Pro, or another one say the best DAW is Pro Tools. Another person say the best DAW is Reaper. Or they'll say stuff like 10 reasons why you should have Reaper, or 5 reasons why you should own Cakewalk, or right? When in actuality, pretty much every whatever audio interface, you'll have people talk about Lynx or Roars are the best audio interfaces. Other people say the Burrows are the best. Some people say the Antelopes. Some people say the audio, universal audio. Some people say this interface. Some people say that interface, and then they'll say these are the top 10 reasons why you should buy this interface, or the top 15 reasons why you should own a Mac, or the top 25 reasons why you should own a PC, or the list just goes on and on and on. And I've come to the conclusion, because there are people that will bash even, this piece of gear is junk, Clark Technique is junk, or Behringer gear is junk, or whatever, right? You got those videos out there too. Or they'll do shootout videos. So in the end, I think, and I wish I had thought about this, because I think about it now. And let's say you're trying to make a decision on gear, what gear you want for your studio. It really should boil down to making a list of everything that you think you would need to do whatever type of recording you're going to do for your recording studio. And keep it as a need. So it's kind of like, do you want, well, I need a console. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Majority of these consoles, I think just about majority of anything that you buy for your needs is going to work perfectly fine. There are going to be people that's going to have biased opinions that are going to, that's probably going to be judgmental. But the thing is, you have to ignore people that think what you should have. Well, I think you got to get the focals. I think you got to get the barefoots. And I'm like this. This is my thoughts on that. When people think that you should have certain gear in your studio, cut me a check or send me a Cash App for the gear you think I ought to have, and I'll get it. The minute you start telling them to buy it for you, they'll be quiet about it. Because I'll tell you this, when it comes to gear and everything else, it's like being an a-hole. Everyone's got one, right? And a lot of times, someone could, I'll use an example. Someone could they could love Mixcraft 10 as a DAW. And because they love it, they ought to think you ought to have it. And I'm like this. I don't think anyone should have Mixcraft 10 simply because I like Mixcraft 10. Now, if someone asks me my opinion about Mixcraft 10 as an example, and I'll tell them the reasons why I like it. Now, if they make the decision to go ahead and get Mixcraft 10, that's on them. But I also have Reaper. So if they ask me about Reaper, I can give you reasons why you ought to get Reaper. I also have this DAW and that DAW. So the list can go on. Like, I like Cubase. I got Cubase as well. It's kind of like I got a whole bunch of DAWs. So my opinion is going to start to, so gear acquisition syndrome is really, or making a decision. It's kind of like, this is why I'm always going to say this. There are basics to a recording studio. They're going to talk about acoustics, setting up your studio monitors, all these key essential things that you need to do, your grounding, your wiring, your placement, and all these stuff. That's probably the first starting point to your recording studio more than anything else, because it's not going to really be tremendous amount of difference owning whether you choose to buy KRKs, 5s, 6s, 8s, or whatever, or you decide to buy JBLs or Yamaha or Mackeys or Focals or Barefoots or Dyne Audio or PMC Audio or whatever, R tones or whatever. It's not gonna, because every studio, even up to the commercial level, pro level, have different gear. So it's kind of like if you go to, for example, I've seen in Larrabee where they're using Yamaha NS10s, and they're also using I thought I saw some other, I can't remember. Or for example, Capitol Studio had PMC audio. They have PMC audio in there. It's kind of like, how is Capitol Studios? Does Capitol Studios the they had a Neve VR console with PMC audio speakers in one of the, I think their A room, from last I remember from the studio tour. But then if you go over to Sunset Sound, in one of their main rooms, Joe Ciccarelli was using ATC 45s, the SCM 45s, I believe. Yeah, he had those, and he was using on what they call an API Frankenstein. It was basically an API console. It's a custom built. So my question would be, if records are made out of Sunset Sound, do they sound better than Capitol? Or Sunset Sound using the VR console with the PMC audio, do they sound better than Sunset Sound? And it's kind of like, well, no, they both sound good. So if they both sound good coming out of those two studios as an example, it can't really necessarily be the gear. It's really more of knowing how to use the gear than it is the gear itself, even though gear does somewhat help. But knowing how to use a gear, that's why I always said this thing about, you have to know how to use the gear to know how to hear the gear. So it's kind of like if you go to another studio, they have Genelex 8361s as an example, or Genelex 1031s, or 1032s or whatever. Or you go to another studio and they got Barefoots in their studio. Or you got another studio, they got Focals in their studio. And you go to the studio, they don't have a Neve or SSL. They got an API. Or you go to the studio, they got a Trident. It's almost like, why do everyone have so much different variety of gear? That's really the so let me sum it up with making this video. So really, it's really going to boil down to gear that you need. And a lot of times you have to, I know I'm speaking to myself as well. A lot of times I had to get to the point where I ignore, like, Christmas and Thanksgiving's come up. They're going to have Black Friday sales and Christmas sales. They always have sale around every holiday. Like, it's like, that's it. That's the funny thing about sales. I've gotten to the point where I hadn't bought any plugins. I hadn't bought plugins in the last 4 or 5 years. I hadn't really acquired. I've acquired probably some more outboard gear, but I don't plan on buying any more outboard gear. I just don't need any more outboard gear. I don't plan on buying any more. I got way more than enough synthesizers. There's nothing I need. Other than I need racks for my gear, cables. I still need cables because I found broken cables. Things like that. Microphone stands. I still need microphone stands. I still need a snake for my drum set. Just things that I need. That's my concentration now. I don't care what new plugin they got out. They can come out with a new vocal plugin, a new EQ plugin, they can come out with a new 1176 clone piece of gear. They can come out with a new whatever. I just don't need any more gear. I really don't. Unless it's some gear that I would like that I need, that I would like to have, that I need. Like some more delays, a few more effect processors, because I don't have a whole ton of effect processors. But so that's my concentration. I whenever someone's reviewing, I had to get to the point where I have to stop watching people's review videos on microphones or a piece of gear, whatever, because it's going to lead to gear acquisition syndrome. Especially if someone does a killer review on, man, check out this this microphone, this $200 microphone. Now I'm up there getting on the internet trying to see where, do I need, no, I don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And I had to tell myself that, no, you don't. Check out that new guitar. No, you don't. Man, Yamaha came out with the new Montage M8. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need another synthesizer. No, you don't. So that's going to do it for this video. I've already got 3 setups, which I only need 1. I only need this setup up in here. I got the setup downstairs. It's like, and because I got to set up downstairs, really there's no room down there. It's really no room in here. I really don't have any room in this house to be doing what I'm doing when it comes to studios. Even my studio setup I got in my dining room, I don't need that setup. I got so many MIDI controllers. I don't need any more MIDI controllers. So it's kind of like, I told myself, I'm not buying any more gear. I'm not. I'm just going to buy stuff I need, like those racks and cables. Things like that. That's what no more. I'm not buying any more plugins. I just don't need them. So, just like this mixer. I really wanted to try out this mixer. I didn't need this mixer. I really didn't. It's just another piece of gear that I bought. That's probably, I'm not going to use that much now. Simply because I want to see if this was an alternative to an interface, because it's a tube preamp. It is definitely a tube preamp / mixer / audio interface. So I need to call them. I want to use it to see if I was doing this for, not for me, because I have interfaces. I was trying to do it to prove a point that, let's say, people that usually use interfaces, this might be an alternative to give you an edge to your recordings. That's why I bought it. Not necessarily for me. So, anyhow, I'm gonna reach out to the tech department, because the drivers for this was making my computer act crazy, and it made no sense. So that's my thoughts. That's gonna do it, and I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a great one.